It is now 4:38. We will begin with roll call. Mary?
President Chavez,
Present.
Vice President Cortese,
Here.
Clerk Doe,
Here.
Member Herrera,
Here.
Member Lay.
Here.
Thank you. Lay.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public who would like to make a comment?
We have no online or in-person public comment.
The board will now recess to a closed discussion. Resuming back to open session. All right, so let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Okay, now we are on item 4.02, no, 4.01. So, welcome to the regular board meeting of January 26, 2023. Members of the public, please submit your public comments as follows. You may raise your virtual hand in Zoom to request to speak and offer comment in real time. In-person public commenters will be allowed to enter 3 speakers at a time in the boardroom. Upon conclusion of the speaker's public comment on the agenda item, the speaker must exit the boardroom. You may also submit your public comment online by accessing the link to the form on the district's homepage at www.esuhsd.org or the link on the agenda. Please reference the agenda item number in your written comment and limit your comments to no more than 1,000 characters in length. Public comments submitted online will be read into the record. Please note, all meetings are recorded. All regular and special meetings of the Board of Trustees and board study sessions are streamlined live on meeting nights and are also available for viewing the day after the meeting by accessing the district's YouTube channel listed on the district's webpage at www.esuhsd.org under the quick link section. The board is not able to respond to items that are not on the agenda or any personnel issues. Your comment will be read into the record and will be directed to the superintendent and/or appropriate staff member for a response. Interpretation of this meeting in Spanish and Vietnamese can be heard by accessing the link and following the instructions shown on the agenda or the district's website. Okay, so now let's go to section 5. So this is where the superintendent and board members may request items to be removed and or carried. So are there any items?
Administration has no items that need to be moved.
Other items are good?
I recommend the deferment of item 12.01 and solicit the opinion of my colleague whether they would feel that that item should be moved to the next board meeting.
I also want to second
So,
for that
so there, okay.
to move.
So no, there's
12.01.
no motion, no motion yet.
I just want
So, my understanding is that the administration is prepared to proceed with the presentation today. Mr. Superintendent.
Yeah, given some of the input we received at the last board meeting, the Ed Services Division was very keen on making sure that it prepared the presentation for this meeting. It went out of its way to meet with a number of the people that spoke to make sure that the correct information is out there in the community. And to make sure that that we're clear in our commitment to all of our communities, that all of our materials will be appropriate, rigorous, meet the exacting needs of the UC system and East Side, and make sure that it's culturally appropriate. The administration is very clear in how it's gone about the business of textbook adoption and has done so in a way that's, I think, truly presents them as a leader for other districts to follow. And we are prepared for that, due to the fact that we want to make sure that our community knows that it has been heard, it has been respected, and will continue to be so, and to have that opportunity. But again, we do work at the pleasure of the board.
Thank you for that. So given that we're ready, and we really focused a lot of time on that, I think it's all right to continue, right?
Are we going to move 12.01 to 2 more weeks?
So,
That's the discussion we would have on the board at the
yeah,
moment.
so board colleagues, how are y'all leaning?
My sense is that there was a suggestion that it would be optimal if we postponed it for one more meeting, but it's not detrimental to actually still make the presentation. And if we have to revisit some things at a next meeting, we can. And also people could watch it online, excuse me, as a recording, for any questions that may arise. So given that the administration is inclined to make the presentation, I'm in favor of just proceeding as scheduled.
Cortese?
Excuse me, do we know if the recording is available in Vietnamese? Or is the Vietnamese only available through request for translation during a live meeting?
It is through translation on the translation channel.
Okay, then I would actually I would actually support the recommendation to move it when people would actually be here. I would support the recommendation to wait until the community would actually be here. So one more board meeting.
The reason being for optimal access through interpretation.
Yes, yes, because you know, your comment about, well, people could watch it online, but if it's not, if they can't understand it, then it's not helpful.
So what's the administration's response to that point? Sounds legitimate or valid.
As the superintendent has mentioned, we work at your discretion, whatever you feel is necessary. We are fully prepared to present my team, Ms. Guerrero, but I'm here every board meeting, so if it needs to be taken to the next meeting,
Well, okay,
that's
thank you
fine.
very much. And I'm feeling swayed by actually the majority of our colleagues here. So
yeah, thank you.
let's keep-
Yeah, I believe during the lunar calendar years at TED, and I think it's a lot of people are busy, especially from the community members. So that's why I probably also want to request to move to the next board meeting.
All right, I'm in favor with that.
Yeah, I mean, I acknowledge that this is a sort of visceral issue for the community, and that that I think once they understand what it is we're doing, that their confidence in what we're doing will return. And so I think their participation would actually be a benefit.
Okay.
If we are to defer, I just would like to thank staff for putting that together and getting that already. And then also just to reaffirm for our community that gave input last week that we hear them, but feel like we have and will continue to work in the best interest of the community. And are, as I said in my email sent out to those that emailed in, very much aware of the realities and memories and wanting to make sure that we have a rigorous program that meets our students' needs going into university as well. So thanks again, staff.
I-
President, I don't believe we actually need a motion on this. We just need to be in agreement as a board to carry it to the next meeting.
Yes, so I want to close that out. So has everybody said,
If I may also to reiterate what I said to Ms. Marquez earlier, just want to take the moment to thank you and your staff and all the member administrations to taking the time to prepare to be ready for this meetings. Clearly that we have heard and listened to the community, and we want to respond urgently. And in light of the fact that because of Lunar New Year, I think it's important for us to defer to the next meeting. But I also want to thank the staff for making such a constant effort to be responsive. So thank you.
I would like to say, echo also that my part is I don't want the administration to present this time and the next board meeting again. That's wasting people time. And I really want to say that appreciate all of staff, especially Associate Superintendent Teresa Marcus and whole team that work on this item. But I want to say that I will make an effort to reach out to the community that next board meeting, we will have this discussion, and it's for them to come in and understand what the east side have make some improvement, communication. In that way, when turn around, we will not say, well, they don't hear, they don't know, and it's too late. So that's why I really appreciate all my board that understand the sensitivity of this issue, and we will postpone into the next board meeting. Thank you.
Okay, so we will be postponing this item, and I want to apologize to the administration because we did say this needs to be a priority. It needs to happen ASAP. And y'all were ready to go and prepared. And this takes a lot of time and energy, including being here tonight, additional staff being here. So I want to apologize and say thank you for being prepared. We're very grateful for that. And we also heard a commitment here from our board that we will make sure that it is, that we let the community know so that they can participate, which is really important, right, in this conversation, because we know it's meaningful. And I'm also really excited to dig into this because it goes beyond the Vietnamese instruction in the textbook. It really talks about how we approach instruction, which I think is important and should be prioritized. So we will move it to the next board meeting. Thank you. All right. Any other items? Good. All right, moving on to section 6. There are no items under this section. 7, student board liaison, Lee Henny.
Yeah, so I don't have that many updates because we're still working on the same things. Just to reiterate from last meeting, the rights and resources pages on each of the websites, the school site websites, and also the online AP exam infographic to just clear any confusions about online AP exams and make sure students go into the testing with enough knowledge to be prepared and succeed.
Okay. Now, section 8, we are now on special order of business. Are there any requests to move agenda items out of order? No request? Okay. Section 8.02 or item 8.02. This is discussion under action to review and accept the annual financial audit report for fiscal year ending June 30, 2022, and the 5 bond measures GEZ 2012-I, 2014-I technology, general obligation bond funds, annual audited financial reports, and bond performance audits. Ms. Huntoon.
Good evening, thank you. And we have with us this evening from I. Bailey, who is our annual audit, our audit firm, Mr. Escobar. He's going to come up and present to you all of the audits this evening.
As independent auditors of the district, we are engaged.
Can you state your name for the
Oh,
record, please?
Sorry, pardon me. Joe Escobar, manager, Ide Bailey. Thank you. As independent auditors of the district, we are engaged to provide more than 6 audit reports. This includes the 5 bond performance and financial opinions, as well as opinions on the financial statements of the district, compliance over state requirements, governmental auditing standards, and federal uniform compliance requirements. We are pleased to inform you that all the reports contain clean or unmodified opinions. This means we did not find any material instances of non-compliance, internal control deficiencies, or misstatements in the financials of the bonds or district as presented today. There are 8 separate documents provided. The included governance letter contains required communications as it relates to the procedures we applied. You may note in the letter this year a modification to the standards requiring disclosure of identified significant risks. The identified risks, though mentioned, do not indicate an exception. They are solely there so the board understands some of the specific items of focus and performance of our audits. We did not experience any difficulties during the audit. We did not have any disagreements with management, and these reports do present fairly the newly implemented GASB 87 leases standard. In performance of the bond audits, we reviewed approximately 89% of expenses for Measure G, 87% for Measure E, 82 for the 2012 Measure I, 68% for the 2014 Measure I, and 67% for the Measure Z. In review of these expenditures, we not only note the operating effectiveness of internal controls over disbursements, we review documents for compliance with ballot language of each specific measure. During the year, we audited two major federal programs. We audited the Special Education Cluster and the COVID-19 Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief, or ESSER programs. The audits were performed in accordance with auditing standards generally accepted in the United States, government auditing standards issued by the Comptroller General, and Title II Code of Federal Regulations, Uniform Administrative Requirements, Cost Principles, and Audit Requirements for Federal Awards. During interim audit procedures, one of our focuses is on state compliance. The audit was subject to the 2022 Guide for Annual Audits of Local Education Agencies and State Compliance Reporting. No matters of noncompliance were noted in performance of these procedures. Sylvia, Kelly, Michelle, and their teams were extraordinarily helpful in making the audit a high-quality audit. They were responsive and helpful throughout the engagement. That concludes my report.
Colleagues, are there any comments or questions?
So to the layperson and the public, this is a clean bill of health in terms of
Yes.
your audit?
Yes, there were no exceptions or matters that required any sort of disclosures, other than the fact that stating that the financial statements were fairly and reasonably stated in all material specs. And as well as we provide a negative assurance in the fact that when we perform audit procedures, we didn't note any matters of non-compliance as well.
Okay, and that's applicable to all of the audits. You've conducted 5 of them, you said?
6.
6.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that the management's administration have fully cooperated, as you have mentioned.
Absolutely.
Do you know how many years that your firm did not find any audit findings in the district?
I do not know off the top of my head. I'm sure there probably has been 1 or 2 state compliance findings in the years in the past 10 years or so. But in this case, for this current year, there were none.
Congratulations. Thank you, staff. That's a good job. Thank you.
Just to say thank you for your service. I think we've had like 8 years or more with no findings. Is that right, Kelly? How many years? About 8 years with no findings. So thank you. We're carry on the tradition.
No fighting, no news is good news when it came to audit, so.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Do I have a motion?
Second. Oh, go ahead.
Moved by Doe, seconded by Cortese. All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry. Lee, how do you vote?
Aye.
Great. Board, all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes unanimously
And the motion is to approve the audit, right?
to approve the audit, correct? Okay. Section 9, there are no items under that section. Section 10. All right. So members of the public may address the board on any subject not on tonight's agenda. However, provisions of the Brown Act preclude any action. As an unagendized item, no response is required from the board or district staff, and no action can be taken. However, the board may instruct the superintendent to agendize the item for a future meeting. Any person may address the board on any item on the agenda. Persons wishing to address the board must fill out a speaker request form via online submission. Your comment will be read out loud as part of the public meeting. Comments should be limited to no more than 1,000 characters in length. You may also raise your virtual hand in Zoom to request to speak. You will have 2 minutes to speak. So is there any online public comment?
There is no online public comment and no in person.
And none of attendees.
No raised hands on Zoom. Okay. All right, so that's section 10. All right, section 11, discussion and or action to approve response to Santa Clara County Civil Grand Jury Report. Superintendent?
Yes, on October 7, 2022, that's before the election, the Santa Clara County Civil Grand Jury issued a report retitled "If You Only Read the Ballot, You're Being Duped." A copy of that is included on this item. Generally, that report is critical of the manner on which ballot measures, ours and other districts are drafted and presented for voter consideration. And the report includes a single finding. Under the penal code, we are going to submit a response to that. And so we have for tonight a response to this report that was issued, and the one finding in our response, which we vehemently disagree with. We're very clear with voters all throughout this, and aren't appreciative of being looped in with other agencies, and or being asked to change the ballot language in a way that does not work for the best interest of the district, our voters, and our constituents. So what you have tonight is a letter that we are asking for you to the board to approve this response so that we can send it back to the civil grand jury.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Well, I'm looking for it and I can't find it, that letter. Do you have it in hard copy or some? Email it to me or something. I don't have the agenda on it. No,
It's
Oh,
right
I
there,
don't have it
Mama.
up. I'm sorry. It's my bad. I meant to pay more attention to this item and I forgot to do it. I just know that when I became aware of it, I got, quite frankly, agitated. And I'm just wanting to be sure that the letter that we're sending reflects at least some of the sentiment that I have about this, because it's basically wanting to neuter the advocacy by elected officials for what is demonstrably in the best interest of the community, as reaffirmed by voters again and again. So
Just forwarded you, Mary's.
other colleagues, do you have comments on the letter or on this matter? While I'm searching here.
I'm happy to make a motion to approve.
Yeah, I mean, I took a moment to see this and this, thank you for putting this together. This is very coherent.
I'm comfortable with second the motion, but I also want to make sure my colleagues has an opportunity to review it in its entirety before we move forward.
My bad. Can we just come back to this item in a moment?
Mhm. Let's come back to it. We can do that, right? Okay. Yes. A little out of order, but we'll come back to, what item is this? 11.01. Okay, so we'll pause there. Let's go to section 12. 12.01 has been moved to next week. 12.02, next meeting. Discussion and or action to receive and adopt the second reading of proposed amendments to board policy 5146, married pregnant parenting students, Associate Superintendent Marquez.
This is the second reading and recommending that the Board of Trustees receive and adopt the second reading of the amendments to the board policy 5146.
Great. And it is my understanding that this is a presentation item only, so no motion is required for this.
No,
Right.
this is the second reading, so it does require a motion and for the Board of Trustees to receive and adopt the second reading.
Okay, so do we have a motion on the floor for this?
I'll move to approve.
Second? Okay, so it's been moved by Cortese, seconded
yes.
by Lay. Lee, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The vote passes unanimously. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, so that was 12.02, 12.03. Discussion and or action to receive the first reading of proposed amendments to board policy 5141.52 suicide prevention. Ms. Marquez?
Yes, so very similar to the previous item, as a result of our federal program monitoring, it was found that we needed to update our board policy and administrative regulation for suicide prevention. The language is taken directly from the updated CSBA gamut language, and so this is just the first reading.
Okay, so this is the first reading to Ms. Marquez's comment right now of the proposed amendments to board policy 5141.52. It will be brought back for a second reading, so no motion for this one. Great. Okay,
I'd like to, from Student Governing Board, do they have any comments on this item?
Not at this time. I don't have any comments.
Just for your information, though, at our last student governing board meeting, we did make sure that as a group, we've decided that in our pre-meetings in preparation that we have with all representatives, that when there are board policies that do involve students, that we'll be bringing policies just for their viewing at that prior meeting before coming to this group here. So that will be a practice that we take forward.
that's right. Our students get a preview of the agenda, so they get to engage with it prior to the board meeting. Okay, all right, item 12.04, discussion and or action to approve the 2023 summer school program. Assistant Superintendent Marquez.
Yes, as we do during this time prior to the summer, I bring forth to the Board of Trustees for action. I'm seeking approval of our 2023 summer school program, which includes our extended school year opportunities for our students with disability. It includes our recovery and acceleration programs for our current students. It includes our English language development program for our English learners, as well as our program for our incoming ninth graders, which our sites do as a summer bridge. I do want the board to note and the community to note that just given the shift in our calendars where we're starting for this new school year earlier in August, we did adjust our summer school calendar to be 22 days versus the 24 days. However, you will also see an increase in the hours. So the hours of instruction are equivalent to the 24 days that we're used to having in previous summers. And so we have increased the hours so that the instructional time is equivalent.
So really, our students are receiving the same amount of hours.
Correct.
Right, thank you for that. And thank you for always making sure that there's different summer school opportunities based on need. And, you know, whether it's students coming into our district or students at different levels that need different things. Just like great differentiation in a classroom, right? So thank you for that. Colleagues, are there any comments or questions? Okay, Lee, any comments or questions?
Also, no comments or questions on this.
Okay, all right. Is there a motion?
I'll second.
Moved by Lay, seconded by Cortese. Lee, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Vote passes unanimously.
Madam President, I am ready to go back to item 11.01.
Okay, you beat me to it. I was about to ask you.
I read the letter and I'm really impressed by the power of that letter. So,
I mean, does that surprise you though?
no, it doesn't, but I'm relieved, you know.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed. That's my, all right, the district. Yes. Thank you for that. All right, so we're now back to item 11.01. This is action to approve the response to Santa Clara County Civil Grand Jury Report. If you only read the ballot, you're duped. All right, so is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Herrera, seconded by Cortese. Lee, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The vote passes unanimously. Okay,
Thank you for that action, and also thank you to the voters of our area who once again have decided to invest in our students and staff and making sure that full participation in Silicon Valley starts in our schools.
Yeah, I'm half tempted to want to file a complaint against those who put that together. Or, yeah.
Yeah, you got some time to think about that. All right, so now we are on section 13. So item 1301, it's a discussion and or action to approve the contracts for professional services over 25,000. Ms. Huntoon?
Yes, good evening. So there are a number of contracts that there are amendments for regarding regarding any changes that have a previous contracts that have been approved. And so if there are any questions, I can entertain any questions that you might have.
Any
My question on-
questions or comments, colleagues? No? Okay, so we have a motion by Cortese, seconded by Doe. Lee, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The vote passes unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Huntoon. Section 13.02, discussion and or action to waive second reading requirements to adopt proposed amendments to board bylaw 9270 EB, conflict of interest code, designated positions, disclosure categories, and board bylaw 9270 EA. Resolution number 2022-2023-20, adopting a conflict of interest code, designated positions, disclosure categories. That was a mouthful. Superintendent.
Yes, we are asking that you take this action of approving this. And if there are any changes subsequent with working with the county and any edits that need to be made in the future, we will bring back at a subsequent meeting.
Are there any comments or questions, colleagues? Lee? Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Herrera, seconded by Doe. Lee, how do you vote?
Aye.
Board, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, vote passes unanimously. All right, so section 14, there are no items under this agenda, under this section. Section 15 is 15.01. We have discussion and or action to approve the bond capital project contracts over $50,000. Assistant Superintendent Huntoon.
Oh, this is standard item.
Okay, any comments or questions? From anyone, including Lee? So when I ask Lee moving forward, that explicitly means you too.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Cool. All right. So who did the motion? Doe? Who seconded it? Moved by Doe, seconded by Cortese. Lee, how do you vote?
Aye.
Okay, board, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, vote passes unanimously. That's 15.01. Now we are on to consent calendar,
Move
section
for approval
16 to
of consent
20.
calendar.
We are eager, okay. Do we have any speakers?
We have no speakers.
Okay, great. So Herrera made the motion, seconded by Doe. Lee, how do you vote?
Aye.
Okay, board, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? The vote passes unanimously. Okay, that's 16 to 20. Okay, 21, so there are no written reports to receive. So we'll move on to the second agenda item, which is section 22. Trustees, do you have any future agenda items to request? Hearing none, seeing none, we are moving on. The 23, we are in section 23. All right, so trustees, this is our section where we get to share anything that we like towards the, our comments. So let's start with, for this left, with trustee Lay.
Well, I want to say that I have been observed the student governing board meetings, and I'm very impressed under the leadership of Lee. And all of the students are very bright and they really understand how that the agenda, and it worked very well. So I'm want to comment about student governing board, very effective and work very hard. And all of this question we're directing to a superintendent as well as board vice president Patty Cotesi and myself. Second thing is I want to say that yesterday I want to attend the CBO the construction. Unfortunately, I came a little bit late, but but we have two board member Joe, board member Patty Cotesi were involved in the CBO meeting. So I think I'm glad to hear that we have a full working staff and board yesterday. And I also want to say that appreciate the promptness and the understanding of staff relating to instructional material that the community has been asking. And I really want to see the next board meeting that we all come together and understand and give some input. Thank you.
Thank you. I was also at the CBOC meeting yesterday, and because of the maximum capacity of two board per meetings, I was very glad to see my colleague Cortez and Lay at that meetings, and I think Trustee Cortez, Lay and I switched as she leave, and I'm able to attend it. So thank you. I also do want a quick shout out for the audit committee. The applications for audit committee is due tomorrow at 5 p.m. So I'm hoping that those who are consider applying for the audit committee, please do so. Despite the title, it's actually a very exciting committee. So I do hope you would consider applying. I also want to do a quick shout out to Yerba Buena High School. In a recent article by the San Francisco Chronicle, it showed that the students at Yerba Buena has the highest level of acceptance rate among the school in Eastside Union. So 76%, if I remember correctly. So congratulations, demonstrations, the staff, teachers, and others at Yerba Buena.
Trustee Herrera.
I have no comment. Thank you.
Once again, reporting that I was at the CBOC meeting last night. But I will say it was great to see. So I got a little tour of what's, things to come at Mount Pleasant, and, updates on Andrew Hill and Evergreen, and what's happening at Piedmont Hills. And again, just deep bows of gratitude to our community for providing these resources for our students. Our campuses are looking gorgeous, and these facilities for our students to, experience, it's just incredible. I'm just walking around Mount Pleasant. That interior of that campus is such a gem. I think most people aren't even aware of really how beautiful it is. And this new facility is going to be amazing. And just so grateful to our community for that.
This past week, I was able to, on the note of our beautiful facilities, attend the ribbon cutting ceremony for Andrew Hill. And my goodness, what a beautiful, beautiful new building that we have for the kids. It was awesome to see the kids starting to perform. We heard the band, we saw our cheerleading squad, and that just really gave life to the building itself, aside from it being beautiful. So it's great to see from, the moment that our voters say, yes, Eastside, we trust you, to the actual outcome with life in it, our children. So that was one of the highlights of last week. In addition to our MLK contest recognition, oh my goodness, I was blown away by each and every one of our kids, but there was one in particular that I was like, wow. I don't know that I would be able to name the history or civil rights journey in so vividly and so creatively up until now, where our country has gone, where it is, and where it can go. I was just blown away by the creativity aside from the knowledge. And just engaging with the families as well and seeing the pride that they have in their children for that product. Was just, it's one of those reminders of this is why we're here, to support our students, to become the best versions of themselves, and to be part of these moments of celebration. And so thank you staff and schools and students for making time to make sure that we recognize our kids for the amazing work that they do. Go ahead.
Are you done?
Yes.
Okay, I will add a comment that I really wanted to be at the Andrew Hill
ribbon
ceremony and also at the MLK, and I also wanted to be at the TED festival ceremonies that occurred on Saturday. But for those of you who are not aware, I am the primary caretaker for my mom, who's 95 and in 7 weeks will be 96 years old, and I couldn't find anyone to stay with her so that I could attend these events. So often now when you don't see me at things, that's probably the reason why. Thank you.
Okay.
President, I also echo your comments about the ribbon cutting of Andrew Hill High School and the Student Union. Very impressive. I know Board Member Doe also attended. I mean, when I visit Andrew Hill for the McKinney-Vento project, and say, wow, this is really amazing. And I looking back and I say, well, the first student union was established, it was built in district is YB, and under the leadership of former Principal Tom Wynn. And I already really looking to that is really our community deserve it, deserve the best, deserve a student deserve, you know, a nice building. And as well, I look up into the future that it's just like the college that I want to attend in the next step. So I really appreciate as the principal, Jose Hernandez, as well, all of the staff, teachers and students being involved in ribbon cutting. And I know that for Martin Luther King, I also attended. And then I have to say that every year, I love to attend one of those contests award, because it's really touched my heart that our students are very, very talented. Looking to all of this multimedia, poem and essay, you know, every year we have a different student, you know, that have developed the different skills. Thanks for the teachers. Thanks for one of this project coordinator, you know, and I know that Associate Superintendent Teresa Marcus and staff were there, you know, really a strong support with under leadership of Superintendent Glenn Van Der Zee. That's all I want to have to say.
Any?
Yeah, so I think I know that earlier, one of the things on the agenda was about suicide prevention. I've had some time to gather my thoughts. I'm sure that every high school student in this district has opinions and has something to say about this issue, because in our district, suicide and mental health is a huge issue, in large part due to the crushing academic culture that there is at so many schools, of competitiveness and then just large workloads and just the pressure. And in no way am I blaming our staff, who tries very hard, by and large, to support students. And I'm also not offering a solution, but just acknowledging that this is a huge problem that a lot of our youth have to deal with. And then additionally, I would like to address the fact that a lot of the topics covered in these meetings may be a little bit difficult to keep up with for basically everyone who isn't familiar with these terms. I think that this issue can kind of hinder the accessibility that I know you all strive for. And I know, Patty, you try to just define a lot of the acronyms that come up. And even on top of that, I'm once again not really offering a solution, but just trying to make that issue, make you all aware of that issue, which I'm sure you are to an extent. And yeah, those are my comments.
Left thinking, left thinking. Glenn, your turn.
All right, very good. Well, once again, I'll, was really pleased to attend all those ceremonies, but as the Martin Luther King Jr. ceremony, just a simple phrase. Time is always right to do the right thing. And as we plan for next year, as the announcements have been made about local control and accountability plan, as we look at our student data and how our data is different post-COVID than pre-COVID, that in the next couple of months, we will be doing the outreach, the planning for issues that have been named, but also for some new data that will be presented with at our next meeting, and making sure that we take the time that is right for us to do the right thing by our students. And our educators do that on the daily. And I can't wait to be part of that process going forward this spring.
You? Board meeting evaluation.
You set the record, Madam President.
All right,
Barely before 7 p.m.
let's keep it there. All right, 24, legal counsel. Do we have anything to report out?
Yes, we do, Madam President. Closed session item 2.01, the application of the application of Paul Partida to file a late claim. The board unanimously approved the application for the late claim. Also, 2.07, in the matter of the claim for damages of Paul Partida, the board unanimously voted to reject the claim of Paul Partida. And finally, also in item 2.07, the board, by a vote of 4-1, Member Doe voting no, approved a settlement agreement and release between the district and Michael and Vicky Stockwell on behalf of their student. The settlement agreement is for a term through December 31st, 2022. It includes an obligation by the district to reimburse the Stockwells up to $550 per calendar day for their students' residential tuition at Elevation's Residential Treatment Program in Syracuse, Utah, for a period of July 1, 2022 through December 31, 2022, upon customary proof that the expenses were actually incurred. As part of the agreement, the parents will also seek contribution from theirs and students' medical insurance coverage. The agreement includes a mutual waiver of attorney's fees and other releases and waivers. And again, that settlement agreement was approved by a vote of 4-1, with Member Doe voting no. A copy of the settlement agreement is available upon request. There are no further actions to report.
Great, thank you for that. It is officially 6:55. This meeting is adjourned.